The other big Hall of Fame news for baseball is Barry Bonds did not make it. This is basically his last year of eligibility, so most likely he will not be making the Hall of Fame.
Unless the Hall of Fame changes something or to give him another shot.
Which, very unlikely. So there's most likely Barry Bonds won't make the Hall of Fame, which is, as I said very eloquently on Twitter, bullshit.
Yeah. It's a lot of people are talking. Okay, so he was steroids, right? But there was a phase of, or like a time frame of baseball where it was very boring. They were losing viewership. All of a sudden, there was this like PED / steroid usage over a course of like an era of baseball, and that reinvigorated the excitement around baseball. I saw a lot of people that said Barry Bonds isn't in the Hall of Fame because of steroid use or whatever, but steroids themselves should be in the Baseball Hall of Fame because they saved the sport. So
without steroids, baseball wouldn't be watched. You have those guys that are like the faces of doing bad. Like you got Pete Rose, Barry Bonds, Alex Rodriguez, Roger Clemens. And like you have these guys that like they're the face of that era. And then when I think steroids, I think of those guys that it was just extremely obvious, even if it didn't show up in their stats. Right. Like Jason Giambi. For those of you who don't know who Jason Giambi is, when he was a younger player in baseball, he was not a very big guy. He was, kind of taller, but he wasn't like very stocky. And then like a year later, all of a sudden he's just comes out and he's just huge.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, obviously something helped him out here. Like he's a perfect example, in my opinion, of somebody that I don't know if it was ever proven he was on them, but what his transformation was not natural. And that wasn't cheeseburgers. Right. So Barry Bonds deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a huge shame just from like a sports person. Right. I know enough about baseball and Barry Bonds to have all the accolades he has and just not get there is despicable.
Like, so I saw a lot of people saying like he's not the best hitter of all time, or the best home run hitter. Okay, which that's fine. You can say that. My comparison when I was thinking about this is like if Ray Allen didn't make the Hall of Fame, he's not the best 3-point shooter of all time.
Right.
But he was one of the best.
Right.
And many people could argue he was the best. And he had plenty of stats to back it up.
Sure.
But that'd be him not making the Hall of Fame for, like, obviously he didn't have any off-field stuff, or off-court stuff. But that would be somebody of, like, you think of Ray Allen's impact on basketball, especially, like, shooting the three. That was Barry Bonds with home runs. Right. He was just that he might be one of the best hitters of all time. Definitely one of the best power hitters. He's got a ton of stats.
Right.
And his first half of his career is Hall of Fame numbers.
Yeah, for sure.
And you have twice that. It's just ridiculous.
There's a clip that I saw the other day of him like the bases were loaded and they intentionally walked him. Walked him. They would rather give up a run by walking in a run than to pitch to Barry Bonds.
Yep. Score was 8-6, bottom of the ninth. They walked in, so it was 8-7. They ended up striking out the next people. Or it was a ground out. And game, so they ended up winning by walking Barry Bonds.
Right.
Because if they hit it, the game would have ended 10-8.
Yeah.
For the Giants.
Sure.
Barry Bonds would have hit it.
Right.
So yeah, that's my stance on that. Barry Bonds deserves it. I don't care what you believe about like steroid, that sort of thing. It takes more. If you believe Barry Bonds doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, not a single member of the Houston Astros that has been playing nuts these past few years should make the Hall of Fame ever. Jose Altuve, nope, should never get in the Hall of Fame. You can't.
Correa.
You can't prove that they were the ones actually using it, but they were part of the scandal. Anybody that means Tom Brady's been part of 4.
Well, Drew Brees doesn't deserve to make it. Drew Brees doesn't deserve to make it now because of Bounty then. So.
Right, and I get it that that's a different sport, but even sticking with baseball, if you believe that Barry Bonds doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame, Jose Altuve, Correa, anybody on the Houston Astros can do whatever they want for the rest of their career. They cannot make the Hall of Fame.
Sure.
So just if you're it's
the excitement of someone like it's like every time you see like I'm sure Golden State fans feel this when Steph Curry shoots, right? Like as soon as the ball leaves his hands, it's like a buildup. It's like and I imagine that's the same thing when Barry Bonds hit the ball. Like as soon as it went crack and like he just watched it and dropped his bat. Like I'm sure that's what fans were just freaking out. I'd love to be part of that atmosphere. Like
no bat flips.
Right. You know, I think he was just one of the guys that just like said it and like watched it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, if hitting a home run, definitely just sitting.
Hitting it out of like San Francisco, like over into the like the lake or pond
or like
whatever.
landed in Japan.
Yeah, somewhere.
Barry Bonds was great. So anyway, that's our statement on it.